Actress Robin Wright will take Kevin Spacey's place in the lead role on House of Cards, after he was pushed out of the show amid UAL assault allegations. Valerie MaconAFPGetty Images First. The spotlight was on the men, trailing them as they fell: Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Charlie Rose, Al Franken, a seemingly endless parade of famous names. Now the women are taking the stage, stepping into the spaces left behind. Robin Wright will take Spacey's place in the lead role on House of Cards. Veteran correspondent Christiana Montour was named Charlie Rose's interim replacement on PBS. Al Franken announced his resignation recently after Democratic women in the Senate pressured him to step down. A woman is expected to take his seat. And the Silence Breakers, the tidal wave of survivors who shared their stories of UAL harassment and abuse as part of the burgeoning MeToo movement, were emblazoned on the cover of Time magazine, collectively awarded the title of 2017 Person of the Year. Proponents of gender equality have widely dubbed the moment a reckoning. That word suggests finality, a clear resolution, yet while many men have fallen, and some women have ascended in their place, an undercurrent of uncertainty lingers. Could a backlash be coming? This year, abusers are being held accountable, but what will happen next year? In Hollywood, the catalyst of the groundswell, in the wake of Weinstein's downfall, there seems to be a sense of hope. I feel like this is a tipping point, says actress Geena Davis, a feminist activist and founder of the Geena Davis Institute on Gender in Media. I do feel like this has the potential to cause a sea change. She points to how much has happened in just the past few years. Think back on the reaction to the Bill Cosby case, and how profoundly people did not want to believe the women, she says. If that happened today, oh my God, what an incredibly different reaction there would be. Harvey Weinstein was the same type of thing, and boom. And then all of a sudden it's spread like wildfire to other sections of society, to politics, to business. This has the potential to cause a sea change, says Geena Davis of the momentum of the MeToo movement. Rich for Getty Images. Other prominent women have cautioned that cultural transformation is hardly a guarantee. In a viral Facebook post, Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg emphasized how much more must be done to end the abuse of power imbalances caused by ism and racism. We have to be vigilant to make sure this happens, she wrote. I have already heard the rumblings of a backlash. This is why you shouldn't hire women. Actually, this is why you should. Writer Rebecca Traister, author of All the Single Ladies, Unmarried Women and the Rise of an Independent Nation, echoed Sandberg's worries about the potential blowback in an essay for New York Magazine. All it will take is one particularly lame allegation, and given the increasing depravity of the charges, the milder stuff looks lamer and lamer, no matter how awful the experience, to turn the tide from deep umbrage on behalf of women to pity for the poor, bullied men, she wrote. But feminist author Linda Hirschman maintains that the momentum of MeToo has already grown to a point where it won't be easily derailed. All movements make mistakes. This movement cannot be held, and will not be held, to a standard that, if we make one mistake the whole movement goes down, Hirschman says. We know that this is the most potent weapon that can be used against the Me Too movement, and even if we do, and inevitably, someone will make an erroneous charge, that does not kill the movement that rests on the backs of tens of thousands of accurate charges. Hirschman added that all social movements progress gradually and imperfectly, with surges in strength and also inevitable setbacks. In an essay for the Los Angeles Times, Dylan Farrow, the adopted daughter of Woody Allen, who has accused the filmmaker of fully abusing her as a child, questioned why Allen had been exempt. The revolution has been selective, she wrote. The system worked for Harvey Weinstein for decades. It works for Woody Allen still. As he announced his resignation on the Senate floor, Franken noted that neither President Trump nor Alabama U.S. Senate candidate Roy Moore, both of whom have been accused of UAL misconduct by multiple women, had surrendered their respective positions. Trump and Moore have denied the accusations. I of all people am aware that there is some irony in the fact that I am leaving while a man who has bragged on tape about his history of UAL assault sits in the Oval Office, and a man who has repeatedly preyed on young girls' campaigns for the Senate with the support of his party, Franken said. Cynthia Deitch, associate professor of women's, gender and duality studies at George Washington University, says many of the men to fall from power have been highly visible, actors, politicians, icons of popular culture. Whether that ultimately reflects similar outcomes for people who aren't so prominent isn't yet clear. Since we're right in the middle of the movement, it is really hard to predict, she says. I think that the issue and the conversation aren't going to be stuffed back in a box. But in terms of whether there will be lasting policy and institutional changes in organizations that affect not just people at the very top, it's just really hard to say. From left: Isabel Pasquale, pseudonym, Ashley Judd, Adama IWU, Susan Fowler and Taylor Swift on Time magazine's 2017 Person of the Year cover. Time Inc. Reuters. There is at least one way that setting a highly visible example can make a difference, Davis says. Systemic change takes a long time in the real world, but it can happen swiftly on screen. Hollywood called attention to the problem, and it's also uniquely positioned to be part of the solution. This is the only sector of society with gross inequality that can be fixed overnight, where the very next somebody makes can be gender balanced, Davis says. The very next story that's about a company, the CEO could be a woman. Half the board could be women. We can't do that in real life, but we can on TV and in S, and life will imitate art. We all want to fix gender inequality, we all want to empower women, but until we change the cultural message, it's still going to be an uphill slog.